So, Mbote Bandeko, Nusiemi, Salembe, I'm Nabi Kefa. Welcome to this live broadcast. Today we're going to discuss the Anunnaki and the scientific explanation with Dr. Luyaluka. Also important to know is that we are scheduled, no, we have planned a seminar. And the link will be later uploaded in the description so that you can subscribe to the seminar. It will be a 2-session seminar. The first session will be November 23, and the second session will be November the 30th. Yeah, so save the date, and of course don't forget to subscribe. And this is just an introduction what we're gonna discuss with Dr. Luyaluka. So if you like what you will hear, definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel and to be present at the seminar. Yeah, and of course, you can also go to Dr. Luyaluka's YouTube channel. Yes, he has a YouTube channel, and subscribe also over there. I will post more information and details later after we finish this live broadcast in the description box below. And so thank you for being here. Make sure to invite some people, let them know that we are live right now, and let them join us, okay? Because this will be something that you have never heard before. Maybe you have read some books on the Anunnaki. You heard people say some things, share the knowledge and the theory about the Anunnaki. Today we're gonna hear the theory from a Bukongo perspective, from the perspectives of Dr. Luyaluka, and he gonna give us a nugget, just an introduction of his scientific explanation of the Anunnaki. Now, Dr. Luyaluka, before we jump into, Mamali Kambu, for those who don't know you, can you just take some time to introduce yourself?
I'm Dr. Luyaluka. I hold a PhD honor in theology, especially in apologetics. I'm the founder of Nzilaloa, which is a modern academy of African traditional religion. Nzilaloa is centered on the divine practice of African traditional religion because African traditional religion can be practiced at the human level or at the divine level. Up to now, what we see in our spiritual landscape is the human practice of African traditional, which is intended to organize, elevate, and protect society. But now we are introducing the divine dimension, which is taught in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which is taught in Book Congo, and whereby the initiate try to regain his divine nature as an Osiris, a child of God. So that's what we are doing. We are publishing books. We are initiating people to that divine practice of African traditional religion.
Ingeta. Ingeta. So, just to make sure that the sound is coming through well, I'm asking you in the chat, let me know if the sound is perfect or if there are some problems. On my end, I don't think there are any problem, but I just want to make sure that we are coming through. Okay. So, Dr. Luyaluka, we are talking about the Anunnaki. Yes,
Yes.
and you have a scientific explanation about the Anunnaki. Now, there have been written many books.
Usually, when people discuss the Anunnaki, the point is to start from the highest, the oldest account of the Anunnaki. Now, according to most of them, the oldest account is the account of the Sumerian. Now, that gives us the oldest account of. Both sides. Your sound. Yeah, we were discussing the Anunnaki and on the question of my approach. Oh, is it closed?
It's on. Oh, look. Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Let me check with the. And can you say something, Dr. Lulu?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
here. I'm hearing you very well.
Yo, Bandeko, can you guys hear us? Are we back with the sound? Just let us know if the sound has returned. Yes, we're back. Okay, they say we're back. We're good. Yeah? Oh
Okay.
man, this every time I discuss something deep, this always happen. It also happened with Dr. Ron Dalton Jr. It's like the devil in the machine. Yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
très bien, très bien. Mm, all praises to the Most High. So I totally forgot where we were, so I will just rephrase the question. Yeah, where do you start, Dr. Luyaluka, in your
Yes.
explanation of the Anunnaki? Because people say they are theories out there saying that they are gods from alien gods. He came from other planets like Nibiru or Planet X. Yeah, they are deities or ancient deities of Sumer, and they brought civilization to man, right? Even agriculture to man and all kinds of advancement. And it's as if that the advanced civilization started in Sumer, right, in the region of Mesopotamia, and not on the Nile Valley. So, having said that, where do you start with your explanation, scientific explanation?
Whenever people discuss the Anunnaki, they start from the oldest account of creation. Now, according to most of them, the oldest account of creation is the account of creation of the Sumerians. So they start with the account of the Sumerian in order to explain what the Anunnakis are. On my side, in 2008, I have discovered what I call the Kemetic cosmological argument, which is the statement of all the essential doctrine of African traditional religion, by starting from nature. Now, we do know that nature is also a holy book. The problem is that book is
Wait a
not
minute,
a
Dr.
tool.
Luke. Did you say nature is a holy book?
Yes, I did say that nature is a holy book. In one of his epistles, Paul says that the hidden things of God are clearly seen when we consider them in nature. So Paul is telling us there that nature speaks about God. Unfortunately, that holy book has not been seriously exploited by the Western people. So natural theology in West remains a search in order to prove the existence of God. They stop there, they cannot go higher. While we have developed natural theology to a systematic level where all the essential doctrines of African traditional religion, the religion of ancient Egypt, the religion of Sumer, can be stated by starting from empirical facts of the universe, so that we have the oldest account of creation, which is the account offered by nature through deductive logic. So I don't start with the Sumerian, I start with nature, which nature offers us today the oldest and scientific narrative of creation.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, it is. I think it's written in the book of Romans, also in the book of Psalms,
Yes.
that the glory of God is seen in nature. The
Mm-hmm.
nature
Mm-hmm.
testifies of the glory and the
Yeah.
magnificence of the Creator. So
Yes.
that's very true. And now, reading the creative hand, right, of that Nzambi, of the creator of heaven and earth in nature. So where do we go from there?
For the time being, the Western people who are trying to develop nature, let me tell you that they started to develop knowledge of God from nature. They have started since the time of Plato, because when all those Greek philosophers of antiquity,
Mm-hmm.
they were flocking into Egypt, their aim was to study divine science. But the ancient Egyptians were reluctant to teach them that highest science. So they were telling them, in order for you to learn that science, you have to begin with the human knowledge,
With the
which
human
was
knowledge.
just a maneuver in order to keep them away from divine science. So they never learned that divine science. But when you live with people who practice their religion, you can capture glimmers of that religion. So they will capture those glimmers and fill the gap through speculation. So they learn that religion is a science and that the existence of the Most High can be proven. So they started to prove that to no avail up to now. In 1887, they created an academic institution using their best minds in order to prove, to develop natural theology. And natural theology starts with the demonstration of the existence of the Most High. Up to now, this venture of them is a failure. Now, why is it a failure? It is a failure because they start with a wrong, false notion of the Most High. They confuse the Most High and the Creator as being one and the same entity. And that is their failure. In order to prove this, we have to ask ourselves, if the Most High is at the same time the Creator, where does creation appears? If it appears in the Most High, who is the creator, then at the moment of creation, God changes. And if God changes, then there must be an entity, a principle of the mutability of God. And that principle must be greater than God according to the law of causality, which is impossible. Now, if we say that creation occurs outside of God, then if we take that creation, we add to God, we have an entity greater than God. So you see, in both cases, the belief that the Most High is the creator begs the existence of an entity greater than God. So that is a failure. They cannot prove that. So what we did, we we decided to develop the same thing as them, but by starting from the concept of divinity of the black people. The black people make a distinction between the Most High and the Creator.
Wait a
So
minute.
by
Wait, Dr. Luluka. Let's stress that one first before we continue. Yes, because stating that causes a lot of issues in people's theology and in people's
yes,
belief. Because coming from a Christian background, even let me just say a religious background, people do believe because of the religious teaching, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, that the Most High and the Creator are one and the same. But you are stressing, which is also Bukongo tradition, that the Most High and the Creator are not one the same being.
if you take 1 Colossians chapter 1, verse 12 to 6 to 16, it is written there that the Creator is in the image of the invisible God.
Mm-hmm.
The Creator
Yes,
is in the image
that's right.
of the invisible God. So you have two entities there that are confused. You
Mm-hmm.
have the Creator and we have the invisible God who is the Most High. So even according to the Bible, it is a
Yeah,
confusion that
yeah.
has been inserted by people. But the Creator and the Most High are two different entities. That is the first thing. And the second thing is that we have many creators. We don't have just one. In this same quotation, the Creator is called the firstborn. Now, when you go to
The
Hebrew
Creator
chapter,
is called the firstborn. Yeah,
yeah, the firstborn.
prototokos in Greek.
Yes. Now, if you go in Hebrew chapter 12, verse 20, 22 or 23, they speak about firstborns in plural,
Mm-hmm.
which means that we have many creators and many universities. There are
A
universities
multiverse.
outside of Yes, there are universities outside of our universities. And if you go to Genesis, the Elohim says, let us create. Let us, not let me. So we have a lot of creators, but we have just one most high,
Mm-hmm.
one invisible
Mm-hmm.
deity.
That may be a revelation difficult to understand because people have been programmed in their religious dogmas and theologies and religious understandings, that there is only one creator, one God, and one who we must obey and worship. Yes, but when we look deeper into scripture, and we dig deeper into the history of the Bible, something reveals itself, and that is that there is a Most High and there are creators. The Elohim, let us create
Yes,
man in our image, us being plural, not stating
yes, of
let
course.
me. Yeah, that's a profound revelation, that people need to understand. But let's continue, Dr. Luluka.
Okay, so I I told myself I'm going to go the same way, trying to prove the existence of the Most High, but has conceived that the Black people has been different from the Creator. So I started from two premises that cannot be gainsaid: the existence of individualities in the temporal universe, and the law of causality, which to each effect matches an adequate and anterior cause. So by starting from these two premises, not only I happened to prove the existence of a creator and of a most high, I realized that my argument extended to all the essential doctrines of African traditional religion, and it was congruent with the religion of ancient Egypt, and it was congruent with the religion of Sumer, and it was congruent with Congo religion. So I realized that in its highest articulation, the religion bequeathed to us by our ancestors is an exact science. And that's what I'm teaching people today, that wake up. You have the highest religion, because all the religions of the world are mere systems of belief. That is how they are defined in the dictionary. But yours is an exact science. And that how it was claimed by the ancient Egyptian, and that what we are demonstrating today. So that natural systematic theology includes also creation or cosmogony. And that cosmogony, according to me, is the oldest because it is offered by nature, and it is the most scientific because it is included in an exact science. So I start with that account of creation, which is the oldest and the more scientific.
So religion of the Bukongo, right?
Yes, the Congo
The
religion.
Congo religion, that is an exact science.
Yes, it is the continuity of the religion of ancient Egypt and Sumer.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that their civilization was going to into hibernation, the Black people put that religion in the custody of the Congo people
Yes.
up to the time appointed for the awakening of the Black people. And that awakening is happening now since the year 2000. So
Mm-hmm.
that it is now the duty of the Congo people to give back to the Black people that higher strand of their religion. And that's what we are doing
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
Zilaloa, my academy.
Yes, 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 yes. Now, Dr. Luka, I do ask some questions as if I am ignorant. Okay, so
Yes.
don't mind me. I'm asking those questions because of um, the people, right? Because of those who are
Yes, I do
watching us,
understand.
so that they can understand. Because I believe many will have those questions, and as we are waking up, yes, people are confused because the preachers and the theologians, they taught us something else, right? The European books, the European institutions, religious institutions, they taught us something else. For example, they demonized Egypt, as if Egypt was a land of devils and demons. Yeah, but we know that the first um, salvation theory, because creation is also soteriological, right? As you had explained in the book
Yeah.
Bukongo. So we know that the notion of salvation came from Egypt, and the light of salvation came from Egypt, and everyone took from Egypt, right? So there is no doubt about that.
Yeah.
When you look into the true history and the religion of Egypt, you will see that it was based on divine practice, on the law of Ma'at,
Yeah.
So, Dr. Luluka, is Egypt demonic, as the Europeans have stated?
Egypt is not at all demonic. Egypt was the highest civilization in its lifetime. When the Greek took control of Egypt and later the Romans, they built because at that time, Egypt was the seat of the universal church. That is the church that covered, whose teaching covered all Africa. That was the civilized world. And when the Greek took power, they created the new universal church that they call the Catholic Church. And they needed to, to the doctrine for that church. So they relied mostly on Egypt. But because they have to establish theirs as being a heavy come directly from the heaven to them, they have to demonize the Egyptian and say, oh, that was demonic. But actually, thanks to the Kemetic cosmological argument, we are proving that the religion of ancient Egypt is an exact science, while the religion of the lunar religion, the religion of the Western people, is just a belief. So how can you compare a mere system of belief and an exact science? So they are wrong. Their history of Africa is wrong. Now you better put a piece of wood in water, it will not become an alligator. So truth is now revealing itself that ancient Egypt was the seat of the highest and true religion, which is an exact science.
Yes, yes, yes. Just to make that clear for the viewers. Ingeta. Yeah, so, what does it mean religion is an exact science? Because when we look into the etymology of religion, it comes from the Latin religare, which means to rebind. So, how are you saying that religion is an exact science?
An exact science, strictly speaking, an exact science is a set of deductive truths which are coherent, not each contradicting the other. So when you have a set of deductive coherent truths, you have what is called an exact science. So up to the moment, strictly speaking, we have only one exact science, which is mathematics. So in order to illustrate what I'm saying, let me introduce the Kemetic cosmological argument. This argument starts from two premises, as I said, the existence of individuality and the law of causality. When we look around us, we see things that are individual, we see individual events, etc. So this temporal universe is an aggregate of individual entities and circumstances. Thereby, we conclude that this temporal universe is an individual entity. Now, being an individual entity, this temporal universe must be the effect of an individual cause. Now, the individual nature of this cause, seeing the infinity of possibilities, back the existence of other causes. Maybe the small have not yet created their respective universes. So we have potential creators and effective creators. Here, I introduce an hypothesis in order to shorten the demonstration and make it more clear. The hypothesis is this one. Every creation exists in its creator. Now, capitalizing on this hypothesis, if we consider an entity that includes all the potential and effective creators, we have an entity which is the greatest possible being. Why? Because every creation you can imagine will be in its creator, and that creator must be in that entity. So that entity is the greatest possible being. Therefore, that entity is the most high. So we have already demonstrated the existence of creators and the existence of the most high, which the Western people don't arrive, don't happen to do. Now, here I introduce three attributes of the Most High. The two first are the indivisibility and immutability of the Most High. The Most High must be immutable and indivisible, because if he were divisible, if he were mutable, there must be a principle of his mutability and divisibility, and that principle must be greater than him according to the law of causality, which is impossible because he is the greatest possible being. So the Most High is absolutely immutable and absolutely indivisible. That is the first two attributes. I introduce a third attribute, very important one. The Most High is transcendent. Now, by transcendent, we all know that he is above everything. But here, by transcendence, I mean he doesn't know evil, because due to his absolute indivisibility, in him to know and to be are one thing. They cannot be separated. What God knows is what he is. If he knew evil, he will be infinitely good and infinitely bad, which is an aberration. So the Most High is transcendent. It means he doesn't know evil. He is totally good, and reality is totally good. Now, we have seen that each creator, or we can call them children of God. So each child of God expresses an individuality which is included in God. Now, God is indivisible. So it means each child of God expresses the fullness of God, but in an individual manner. And that fullness of God that they all express is the Logos, the Christ of the Christian, not to be confused with Jesus. It is the Logos. So we have three celestial entities already here. We have the Most High, the Creator, and the Logos. Now, here comes a question. Where does our temporal universe exist in relation to the Most High? We know by hypothesis that the creation exists in the Creator. That we know. But here we ask in relation to the Most High. First thing, it cannot exist in the Most High, because if the creation occurred in the Most High, at the moment of creation, something new will appear and God will change, whereby we have seen that he is absolutely immutable. So creation doesn't occur in the Most High. Creation cannot occur outside of the Most High, because if it were added to the Most High, it will result in an entity greater than the Most High, which is also impossible. So creation is neither in the Most High nor outside of the Most High. And you wonder, what is it? What is it then? It is like I say, Mr. X, who is me in the studio, has a car. His car is neither in the studio nor outside of the studio. You come easily to the conclusion that his car is in his mind. So the Creator, who is in the Most High, has a temporal universe which is neither in the Most High nor outside of the Most High. So the conclusion is that the temporal universe is in the Creator. And these prove that our hypothesis is true. Creation is in the creator. And this proves also that reality is spiritual, not material. The material is only a limited or reverse perception of reality. Reality is spiritual. The material is just an appearance. Now, I can extend this from starting from cosmogony, which is creation, up to soteriology, which is the doctrine of creation, so that what we have is a natural systematic theology. And because it is based on deduction, each doctrine stemming from the previous one deductively, they are coherent. So we have here what is exactly called an exact science. So of today, we have two exact sciences, mathematics and the Kemetic cosmological argument, which is the natural systematic theology of African traditional religion.
All right, now that we have that established, now let me ask you a question. One, who are the Anunnaki? And two, where did they come from?
In order to understand this, I'm not going to go deeper than this. We are going to go deeper than this during the seminar. According to the scientific creation, which is creation has stated from the Kemetic cosmological argument, the Most High has endowed his children with free will because he is a God of love and truth. Free will is not a creation, it is a consequence of the loving and loyal nature of God. Now, the misuse of the free will causes some children of God to fall into darkness and chaos and to lose the manifest expression of the Logos. Now, when you lose the express manifestation of the Logos, when you turn away from a God who is indivisible, it means you turn away from all the glory of the Most High and you fall in darkness and chaos. So, by the misuse of the free will, the children of God fell in a state of a dream, but a non-lucid dream, which means a dream in which the dreamer doesn't know what is happening to him, doesn't know that what is happening to him is an illusion. No, he sees what is happening to him as the only reality. That is a non-lucid dream. So in that state, they could not save themselves. So it required another child of God to come down, to descend to that darkness in order to have the fallen children of God. So creation starts with the descent of the creator. Now, the difference between the fall of the children of the misuser of the free will and the descent is that the descent was impelled by law, while the fall was due to sin. So by descending, the creator could not totally lose his consciousness of heaven. So his was a lucid dream, in which he limited his perspective, but he was still conscious of the Father. He was still the Logos working in him. He was still a manifest divine being. So he could repel darkness, he could repel light. And in that context, he said, let there be light. But remember, the children of the Most High were endowed with free will, so that the Creator could not could not impeach or trample on that free will, which means that at the saying, let there be light, there was those who accepted light unconditionally without reservation. I call them the children of light. There were another extreme of people who rejected light totally. So they fell down lower in a lower zone. And there were a third group that accepted light, but not in all also its effulgence. They also fell with those who rejected light. Now, those who rejected light, because they rejected light, they became the demons. So we have here the third group who accepted light, but not in all its effulgence, falling at the same level, and the demon. That stage of creation is called by the Sumerian a creation of confusion or chaos, because you have the demon and the humanoid at the same place. That confusion had to be resolved. However, the creator could not come down to that level because he will lose his attach with the heaven. So that job belonged to the children of light. So some children of light came down, what we call the divine Anunnaki. Those divine Anunnaki came down, settled the confusion by repelling the demon at an underneath word, and by helping the spiritual minded humanoid, because the humanoid divided into two groups, the spiritually minded and the materialistically minded. So they mingled their blood with the spiritually minded, taught them religion, taught them civilization, and thus started the first solar civilization, which was the civilization of the Black people of Africa. So, to come back to your question, who are the Anunnaki? First of all, the Anunnaki are the children of light who accepted light fully from the Creator and who came down to settle the confusion which involved the cohabitation of the demons and the humanoid. That's the first thing. The second thing, the demonic the Anunnaki are the demons who rejected light totally. We will see, as it was told the Egyptian and the Sumerian, that we have two kinds of civilization. The solar civilization, which is the civilization of the Black people, which is based on the demonstrable fact that reality is spiritual. And abroad that demonstration with the Kemetic cosmological argument, I have proven deductively that reality is spiritual. That is the basis of the solar civilization, which was the civilization of ancient Egypt, Sumer, and Africa. And a civilization doesn't work indefinitely. A civilization hibernates, wake up, hibernates, wake up. So those two civilizations, the lunar and the solar, the lunar is the Western civilization, which is based on the belief that reality is material. So those two civilizations take turn every 3,000 years, but with the solar civilization lingering above its normal hand time. So at the hand time of the solar civilization, the extreme people of the materialistic minded humanoid, they made recourse to the demonic Anunnaki in order to build the lunar civilization. And such civilization eventually leads humanity at the verge of destruction. You see a good example near us, the World Wars 1 and 2. So that is, we have two kinds of Anunnaki. The divine Anunnaki, who helped the black people of Africa build the first solar civilization, and the demonic Anunnaki, who were used by the extreme materialistic people of Europe or of the West to build a lunar civilization.
Okay, so
And this difference of divine and demonic Anunnaki is testified by the Sumerian texts. They speak about the divine Anunnaki coming from heaven and of the demonic Anunnaki coming from the death, from the hell, from underneath.
so the Sumerian text confirms that there are two groups of Anunnaki. Yeah, the Anunnaki,
Yes,
divine Anunnaki, or the children of light coming from heaven, and the demonic Anunnaki coming from darkness or hell.
yes.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes, and we have another account, which is the myth of Kintu, which is found among the Baganda people.
Yeah, before
The
before we
myth
go to
of
the
the
myth of
Kintu,
Kintu, Dr. Luluka, let me
yes,
ask some more questions. You said that the children of light, the divine Anunnaki, they descended from heaven and they helped the black people. But according to a lot of people who studied Sumerian and the legend and myths of the Anunnaki themselves descended in summer and not in Africa. So how do you explain that one? As you, if you say the Anunnaki descended to help the black people in summer or in Africa?
you have first to know that Sumer belonged culturally to Africa.
Summer belongs culturally to Africa.
Belonged. It
Yeah,
belonged
belonged. Sorry. Yeah.
cult- culturally to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Sumer was the land of the black people. In fact, in fact, the border of Africa was the eastern border of the actual Iraq. So all those, the Middle East was people with black people, not white people. The migration of the Greek, of the Romans, wrote that the change of the color of those people, that at the beginning, all of them were black people, all of them were considering themselves as people of Africa. And as I said, we will speak about this. We don't have only the account of the Sumerian. We do have also the account of the Baganda people who are in Central Africa and who speaks about the Anunnaki, how the children of light, how they came down from heaven and taught religion and civilization to Kintu. Kintu, who symbolized the first ancestor of the black people.
Yeah. So what is the story of Kintu exactly?
It is taught among the Baganda people of Uganda that their first ancestor was named Kintu. Kintu was on earth, and one day the children of heaven, that is, children of Gulu, came down. They came down with their sister Nyambe. And as they came down, Kintu married Nyambe. And from that
He first had
union,
to
they
undergo
got
certain tests, right? According to the
maybe, but
story.
yeah, yes, maybe. But I'm taking the essential of the account.
Yes. Okay.
So he got married with Nyambe. they got children, and now through that union, the children of Gulu, the children of heaven, taught Kintu the essential of civilization, religion, science, and technology. And this is the explanation of the greatness that Africa enjoyed, according to the Black people. We are, we were the first higher civilization because it was a civilization brought by the God themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, in almost any ancient culture, there is a story of the gods descending and living with men and teaching them.
Yeah.
We find it everywhere in
Yes.
African ancient oral tradition.
Mm-hmm.
We find it in Kemet. Yeah, we find it in Summer, actually all over the ancient world. So there seems to be an event where angels or children of heaven descended, interacted with men, and taught them the righteous way, and even civilization and science, etc. That is correct, right?
Yes. Yes. The only thing is that in the Western interpretation, they are described as being aliens, while in the African account, they are
Mm-hmm.
described as coming from heaven.
Mm.
So there is an explanation which is needed here.
Yes. So the story of Kintu, the myth of Kintu, tells us about the Anunnaki, the children of light, descending. Yeah? And in the story of Kintu, we have what was his name? Nambi, who married Kintu.
Nyambe,
Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yes.
So the Bantu blood. What is the Bantu blood then, Dr. Luyaluka?
Oh, you see, according to chromatic science, we have seen that the children of light absorb the truth, the light brought by the Creator without reservation, totally. Now, the only color that absorb light totally is the black color. That is why the Sumerian insists that the children of light were black. And what about the demons? The demon rejected light totally. And the color that repels light totally is a white color. That's why the Egyptians were insisting that the demons are white, while our ancestors are black. The Anunaki, divine Anunnaki.
Yeah, so the demons are white, and the
Yes,
divine ones are black.
black.
Mohindu, people of the sun.
Mhm.
That's why they're black,
And
because they.
from and by mixing the blood with our ancestors, they brought all the foods of the black people found in Africa. And the black people were the first to reach civilization. They didn't keep the life for themselves. They went through all the world, interbreeding with the other races and bringing light to them. We are the firstborn. We are the elder. They owe us respect and not ill treatment.
Hmm. So we can say that the Bantu people are the ancient of days, the most
Yes, of course.
oldest of people.
If you take Isaiah chapter 18,
Mm.
they speak about the Bantu people as those who are feared since the beginnings of the world.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
why are they feared since the beginning of the world? Because they have the highest religion, they have the highest science, which is based on the fact that, that reality is spiritual, and they have the highest technology.
Mm. Hmm. Now, people, you are here with Nabi Kefa, Dr. Luyaluka is giving his explanation on the Anunaki, those who from heaven came, right? Or those who came from heaven to earth. Ingeta. So it's just an introduction because Dr. Luyaluka will go much deeper in the seminar that we have planned on Saturday, November 23. You can register for that. That's the first session, and the second session will be the week after that. That will be Saturday, November the 30th. Yes, I will put the link in the description box later after we finish with the live broadcast, and so you'll have to come back to get the link so that you can register. Yes, the space is limited, so be one of the first to register and to reserve your spot on time. Ingeta, it will be a live seminar, not on YouTube, so you will have to register. It will not be on YouTube, so register, especially if you liked thus far what Dr. Luyaluka shared with us. Make sure to register and of course invite some people to join us. Ingeta, thank you very much, and I hope to see you there. If you have questions, write them down so you can ask them when we have the seminar. So it will be a 2-session seminar. Yes. Is there anything else, Dr. Luyaluka, that you want to share before we close?
I want to share the concept of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Usually people, we have been educated in the context of lunar civilization, the civilization of the West, where reality is perceived as being material. Now, the ancient Egyptians were insisting that the soul is not in the body. And the Congo people and the Bantu people and even the Yoruba people of Nigeria insist that the physical body is just an appearance and that the human being is spiritual. So the insistence of the Egyptian on the fact that the reality or the soul is not in the body means also that the spiritual is not in the material. This is very, very important. When the Grecian went to Egypt, they did learn this, but because they were the materialistic, they 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 have thrown this away and came back to their conviction that reality is material. So by saying that reality is spiritual and is not in the physical, the Egyptians were insisting that the heavens that are spiritual are not in our cosmos. So how is the universe framed according to the black people? According to the black people, we have the physical universe, which is an appearance. It includes the earth and its cosmos. And beyond, which is outside of that cosmos, we have the heavens that are 7. And we have also the eternal heaven. Each heaven has also its cosmos. So that when we say that the Anunnaki came from heaven, we don't mean that they came from our cosmos. No, no, no. They came from the heaven, which literally means from outside of our cosmos. And we have
cosmos,
we have in the Bible.
Cosmos is synonymous with universe.
Cosmos is part of the universe. It's part of the universe. The universe is good. You have the earth and you have its surrounding, which is the cosmos. That is the universe. The universe, according to the white people, that is the materialistic universe. We have the earth and its cosmos. But the universe, according to the black people, you have the earth and its cosmos, and beyond you have the heavens, each heaven having its cosmos. And we have
Each
an
heaven,
example in the Bible.
each heaven having his own cosmos.
Yes, if you take the eternal heaven, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you and I
Come
know
on.
that the creator are called stars, suns. If you take a gathering of those stars, you have what? You have celestial galaxy, etc., etc.
Mm.
In the eternal heaven. So you have a cosmos. You have each the eternal heaven has also its cosmos. Each heaven has its cosmos. So when we tell you that they came from the planet near Nibiru, it doesn't necessarily mean that they came from a planet of our cosmos. No, they came from heaven. So it was a planet, but of the heaven, not of here. And you have in the Bible an example of people coming from the heaven. Abraham received angels who evolved with him, who did eat with him, who were frightened by the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. They were celestial visitants. They came literally from heaven. So, in the conception of the black people, someone can come from the heaven down, not from a planet of our cosmos. No.
Interesting. Interesting. So there is a separation. It's not all
Yes.
one and
The,
the
the, the
same.
concept the concept of the universe among the black people is wider than the concept of the universe with the white people. The white people try to reduce everything to our material cosmos. I had in my course of philosophy in the seminary a teacher of philosophy called Phil Fernandez. So Phil Fernandez was teaching us, there are only three heavens. The first is the sky you see above your heads. The second heaven is where the stars are. And the third heaven is beyond the star, and that's where God abides. So he was squeezing the heavens and even God in our cosmos.
As if God lives in a material world.
Which is wrong. The material world, according to the black people, is just an appearance. So reality doesn't abide in the material world. The material world seems to accompany reality, but it is just an appearance, not the reality.
So if I've understood you correctly, you are saying that Anunnaki came from outside of our cosmos. Yes? So
Yes.
that makes them as spiritual beings.
Okay.
Yeah. But can spiritual beings come from outside of our cosmos and have a material body?
The spiritual being can material themselves and come here in two manners. They can appear, or they can stay with us physically by taking a physical incarnation. In one of my broadcasts, I was telling you about the Catholic priest who went to preach a chief among the Songe people. And they told him, we have come here to teach you about our master who died, and in 3 weeks he resurrected.
In 3 days.
In 3 days, the chief said, hold on. Did your master come back to live here, or he was just appearing? They said, we are going to check our books. So they went to check the Bible, and they came and said, he was appearing. To which the chief said, if he was appearing, it is not a miracle. Our ancestors do appear also. I know a story of an old lady called Agnes. I think he's now died. He was one of the sustainer of the prophet Simon Kimbango. When I met her, he was very old, and he told me a story how she was angry. He didn't have someone to support her, and he went to the marketplace in order to take the falling corns on the ground. And as he was picking fallen corns, he saw her late daughter and her late granddaughter. He saw them physically. They asked her, "What are you doing there?" He said, "You see, nobody is caring about me, so I came here in order to pick some corns falling on the ground." They gave him provision, they gave her money, and they told him go back home. So they appeared physically in that event. So those who come from heaven can appear physically, or they can just appear as ghosts.
As ghosts. Yeah, that's why they call the spirit the Holy Ghost. Yeah?
Yes.
All right, Dr. Luyaluka, thank you very much, Matondo, for this introduction into your scientific explanation of the Anunnaki. We are organizing a seminar next month, November. Yes, Saturday, November 23, and a week later, the second session, November the 30th. So be there, register. The link will be available in the description box. Make sure to be there, and I hope to see you there, of course, if you find what Dr. Luyaluka shared on this live broadcast interesting. Make sure to join us in the seminar. It will not be available on YouTube, but it's a private session. So come prepared, have your notebook ready, and you can ask all the questions you have in Geta. So we have heard and we have read many theories about the Anunnaki from the Europeans, from the Mundele. Now, in the seminar, we will hear the scientific explanation of one of our own. Yes, none other than Dr. Luyaluka. And if you haven't read the book Bukongo behind them, that's one book that you need to have. You all need to have the book Bukongo and read it. It will help you a lot. It will open your eyes and you will gain some deep understanding. Because in that book, Dr. Luyaluka reveals some secrets, deep secrets that you need to know. I'm Nzambi Kefas, so thank you for watching. Dr. Luyaluka, as we're closing, is there anything you want to say?
I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my perception of the Anunanki. And I'm inviting people to come to the seminar in order to learn more about these episodes of our civilization, which is a very important one and which has been dealt.
Yes, a very important one. As you say that, I think of the fact that Europeans often say that Africa as a dark continent has never contributed into the human advancement. Yes, not in theology or religion, not scientifically, nothing at all. But we know that those are lies, right? We know that. And I hope you all also understand that those are lies. Because the first civilization, let me say Africa, yes, is it's actually the foundation of everything that we have in the world today. Everything started in Africa and came from Africa. Even language itself, yes, speech, technology, the knowledge of God. It all came from Africa. So we know the Mundele Kadian Pemba, does what they do best, and that is to lie and to deceive. But we are living in the era
Mhm.
of truth, the era of light. Yes, and light reveals the lie. And we are called the children of light. So we will reveal the lies of the Western theology, Western philosophy, Western everything, because everything was stolen from Africa. Dr. Luyaluka Matondo for being here, and I'm looking forward to the seminar, and I hope you too, you who is watching us, and yeah, come and participate. Yeah, it will be amazing. I'm sure that you will be blown away by the explanation, the scientific explanation which Dr. Luyaluka will provide. So once again, thank you, and until we'll meet again, may Congo reign. Ingeta.